5 minutes to get finished answering the last questions. After that, no further questions may be asked. If you'd like, you may start when you're ready.
To offer to become the leader in the consulting engineering industry by offering your expertise, timeliness, and flexibility. Good morning, we're New Wave Consulting. Today, we're taking your company into future sustainable growth. We identify if there's some major challenge happen this situation. So we figured there's no clear direction and sustainable plan happen in your business. And we recommend to your company to go public and to foster relationship with the government. The outcome will be we want to keep the staff instead of lay off half of the managers of your company, which happen to be your talented workforce. We want to retain this staff and achieve raising the capitals through external support. On the way of increasing your shareholders' value, there's some major challenge and some secondary challenges in the way of increasing achieving success. So those works as rocks on the way to achieve success. Those secondary rocks is less likely to be removed without moving the major rocks first. So identify there's a lack of direction and a sustainable plan work as major rocks, and because of this major challenge, it is unable to achieve the success and react to the future upcoming challenges. There's also internal inefficiencies. There's no clear system that ensure the communication between between employees, and there's internal inefficiency between your company and your GHP, which is not integrated very well. So it's really hard to achieve the competitive cost structure, which happen to be a key successful factor to be successful in your market. And there's no inefficient communication. There's another secondary rock is the project delay. There's 3 major project delays happen in the current situation, which may largely harm the timeliness and hard to achieve these competitive advantages. And this damages relationship with your major clients and largely damage reputation as well. Last but not least is the economic downturn. There's happened to be economic downturn which damage the cash reserve and also threaten keeping your current structure, which you have to lay off staff because of this market downturn. In order to achieve 3 things in the middle is the competitive advantages, which is expertise, flexibility, and timeliness. We analyzed the current situation. We figured there is some driving force and a restricting force happening in this current situation. Now I will go through each competitive advantages one by one. So the first is expertise, which is extremely important in this industry to make sure your company have the knowledge to meet the customer's needs. Your company currently have the loyalty staff. So there's few engineering start a company at 1980. So those employees actually really loyal employees. So they have the expertise and knowledge to provide the service. However, there's a really large global competitions which your clients may go to another companies. So your expertise not being shown. However, there is a really important opportunity for you is the EPCM contract, which the main lender is the government. We think it's an extremely important opportunity, which we'll talk about later as well. We can seize that opportunity to get external support. The second competitive advantage is flexibility. Your company able to change the specification based on the customer's demand. So you have the loyalty staff, as I mentioned before, so they have the expertise to make these things happen. And however, there is a lack of knowledge management, as the CTO just mentioned before. So there's no clear communication between the employees, which will largely affect those flexibility. And there's as well large global competitors and economic downturn, which would affect your company's structure and efficiency. The last but not least is the timeliness. Timeliness is extremely important in this industry. We want to meet the deadline the client set for us. And so, however, we see a huge opportunity from the EPCM contract because through them we can potentially get more support from the government to ensure this timeliness things happen.
Thank you, Louisa. Thank you. So, looking from there, keeping in mind everything that Louisa just went over, we want to then currently look at sort of narrowing the focus from strategy to structure, then to systems, of how we can improve the company moving forward into the future. So again, starting overall with the broad picture, looking at strategy, we have 3 options for you that we will go through later, which is divesting, first of all, in the JHP company that you've just recently purchased for $30 million, again with the economic downturn and the cash flow shortages that you're currently experiencing. Next, also we recommend potentially going public, again to raise capital funds going into the future, and then to potentially limit the amount of people you're going to have to let go. But then again, also focusing on really trying to find funds and fostering relationship with the governments and the owners of all the countries that you're operating with moving forward. From there, again, narrowing our focus further into structure, ways that you can improve the structure of your current organization, again, is the layoff staff of the 86 people that you recommended to happen within the next 2 weeks, which could be, we project as like a really drastic shift in the company, but also then potentially restructuring those 86 employees to better use them more efficiently moving forward, so we don't have to lay them off. From there, again, further narrowing the focus into the system, again, which IT system of the 3 that you are currently looking at to recommend and implement. Again, Quick, Blue Farmer, or Lucky. So going back to the strategy and looking at using, again, our expertise, timeliness, and flexibility, what we believe your company can truly become in the future, and then pitting those against the 3 main strategy alternatives, you can see that in divesting, if we were to divest in the HG or GHP company, in doing that, you're letting a lot of your expertise go, you're letting a lot of the valuable knowledge capital that you have of those employees go out to potential competitors, which we see is, especially in economic downturn, a major problem. Again, timeliness, the ability to meet certain deadlines of these projects. Again, GHP is behind on numerous of their projects, so again, letting them go, again, could obviously, if you don't have those projects, again, you don't have to worry about those deadlines, but it could badly hurt the reputation of the company. And then flexibility, again, letting GHP go could, again, somewhat limit your flexibility into the future. Then looking at going public with expertise, timeliness, and flexibility. Going public, we think, with the ability now to raise or have the ability to raise capital funds, you won't have to let go of those 86 top management employees. So we do believe that expertise will be retained. And then with that sort of flows down timeliness and the ability to move those people around to projects that are behind on delays. We could really help to improve the timeliness of the projects that are behind. And then again, thus could potentially increase flexibility, but with going public, now you have a duty to the public as well, and you have shareholders and you have different accounting standards, so there are more restrictions in that term when you go public. And then looking at fostering government and ownership relationships. Again, if we solely focus on this, we might have to let go of those top management employees, so our expertise could falter on that. And then again, from trickling down from that, our timeliness and our ability to meet these deadlines that we so heavily rely on as being the core of our product, or core of the company, won't be able to be achieved. Again, then thus somewhat reducing flexibility. So with that in mind, we do suggest that as a main strategy, you go public primarily with a somewhat focus on, again, continually fostering the relationship between governments and the owners. So moving on from there, looking at our alternative structure, again, with laying off staff and restructuring, with going public, and we say with being able to raise capital funds, you will not have to lay off staff. Some pros of laying off staff obviously would be the budget cuts, but since going public, we've countered that. And again, laying off staff, you were really concerned or wanted to find a way where you could lay off staff but still not have these projects uninterrupted, and we really didn't see that as a possible solution. When you're letting go top management, 86 of them, there will be disruptions in projects, there will be further delays, morale could go down from other employees. We just say it is too much of a risk at this time. Again, employee backlash, low morale, again, knowledge outflow during economic downturn are all issues that we need to address. And then with restructuring, definitely some pros. So if we, in 3 months' time, when those 3 major projects in China, the US, and Canada finish, we can take those top management employees and put them elsewhere onto projects that are being delayed to really sort of help push them along. So again, future growth, again, increasing brand image as well if we are able to meet those deadlines for projects. Cons is change management and business overlap. So currently there isn't a lot of, even though the cultures are very similar from TCE to GHP, the companies themselves aren't that similar. However, we do believe that with the culture and somewhat of the same environment, the top management could easily be transferred over. And then thus we go with restructuring as well. So on top of going public, using those top management employees, once projects are done, to restructure them and make sure that all employees are being used in the most efficient way possible. And then finally, addressing the new IT systems that you were looking at implementing. We have used the decision criteria of what we see as most critical when implementing any IT system into any organization, and especially with you guys being an international system, the ease of implementation is critical beyond all means. So again, we've used the decision criteria of being user-friendly, internal integration, external integration, and effectiveness. And to distinguish between internal and external integration applies again within your company, so all 4 offices internationally. But external integration, since you have numerous subcontractors, and again, governments and owners, we want to make sure that they are also easily able to use those IT softwares if possible as well. So again, looking at the first one, Quip, we see is very user-friendly. It can be used on your smartphone and your apps and all your computers and desktops. However, if you look at, although internal integration is somewhat high and it's sort of on its own platform, we're worried that since it doesn't use, the generic software such as Excel or PowerPoint or things like that, when you go to external, like subcontractors, they will be able to use this software. So we see that as a big issue, especially considering how much you work with them. And then thus, overall, definitely decreases the effectiveness of this software. And looking at Bloomfire, we do see that it is primarily user-friendly, and the internal and external integration are rather high. So we see that having the ability to upload sort of universally used documents, such as Excel documents, to a cloud where everyone can access them or easily search them. We see that as a great way to really make sure that the knowledge is spread evenly and everyone knows sort of what's going on in the company. And thus we have the effectiveness is quite high. And then coupled with that, the Lokeen, which is primarily the indexing email software, we do see that as a great stepping stone to get to Bloomfire, considering currently a lot of employees are using email on smartphones and on desktops just as a way of sorting their information. So with that, we do see that primarily we will look to Bloomfire as our initial IT software to implement.
Based on our analysis, we mainly recommend your company to go public. However, it's really hard to achieve the goal of go public in the really short-term time. So we want at the same time get the support from the government and other owner support for the short term in order to go public, potentially go public in the future. So there's 3 stages in our implementation, which is planning, lay the foundation, and the development. For the planning stage, we want to first of all focus on the delay project. So there's a lot of opportunity. Actually, some project is being finished by March. So there will be some capital being free up, so we can transfer into different places. However, this will not be happening without efficiency communication within the company. So that will be mostly happening in the first stage. And the second stage is lay the foundation, is to prepare for go public. All different standards and the things have to be fixed before go public. The last one is the development, is how to react to the potentially long-term economic downturn and the market uncertainty. So we have different strategy for that, which Mandy will talk about later. And this is our implementation summary, which including the biggest cost in our implementation, and there's more specific costs which we can break it down later on. And the projected launch date is 2020 December.
Perfect, thank you. So jumping into how we're actually going to get this done and the whole implementation of going public within a few years. So first, since you were planning on laying off some employees, we want to make sure that rumor doesn't get out. I know there was, you were confident that there weren't any, but if there were rumors, it could again hurt the morale of the company. So again, just make sure that that's under wraps. Again, first you also want to assess the delays of the project. So again, I know a couple have been pushed to again another 6 months, which is a significant amount of time. So we really want to make sure maybe send a team in there and see, is this an accurate assessment of the delay? Is it actually 6 months? Is it 9 months? Is it 2 months? Just to really make sure that's on board and moving forward. Again, obviously, then we want to start reaching out to governments and owners and see, if there are any funds, any grants, any sort of resources they can provide us to really support us moving forward as we go in looking into going public. And obviously, maintaining relations with our clients and owners and making sure, yes, with the delays, that there are other ways we are still fostering that relationship into the future. Then we want to also look into hiring professional advice, which is accountants and lawyers. So going public, there are different standards that need to be met, and there's numerous paperwork and numerous steps that need to be taken, and we want to make sure that the company is in good standing as well to go public. And then again, we want to ensure that you had planned to have 3 projects ending in March, which is in about 2.5 months. So we want to make sure that those are on track. So then once they are finished, again, like we discussed earlier, the top management people from those sites can then be redistributed efficiently into other sites that are being pushed back on delays. And then again, we want to start to somewhat integrate the 2 companies together again to make sure that when we do move top management, that they're able to, move from one culture to another quite easily. Again, this is all within 3 months primarily, just sort of getting the ball rolling on a whole bunch of things, but primarily hiring the accountants and making sure that the delays aren't being pushed back any further. Some risks that we have associated with the first stage of implementation, again, is failure to establish relationships with the government. We see that we do need sort of a boost from the time that we go public from now, and we see them as a really big support aid. So if we were unable to foster that relationship, we could run into some trouble, but then we do consider other supports. So if there are any private sectors that want to invest or other owners that are willing to help us out on that notion. Then laying into the foundation, moving to our second term of implementation, is with the IT software. So again, as we move forward to going public, we want to make sure that all the employees are up to date with the software that we're going to be implementing, which we said was, so then we want to purchase, integrate, obviously, and train for the new IT software. Again, as we go public, we want to make sure all of our employees are on board and happy and able to use the software. Software, again, is only as good as the users. Then restructuring our management team, like I said, from the March projects, make sure that they're efficiently distributed so that delays are minimized and mitigated. Assessing market and brand reputation, again, going public, making sure that when we go public, we're in good standing and that people are obviously willing to buy our shares and that overall we have a good standing, which you do currently. And then always looking for future fund support from governments and owners. Some risks that we've associated with this, again, going public takes longer than expected. Obviously, in this industry, there are delays, and they always happen. So with this in mind, relying on external support, making sure that our government relationships are really strong there so they can support us then through moving onwards. And then finally, into the long term from 2018 moving onwards to 2020, again, continually fostering the relationship between government and owners, even now that we are public, and hopefully we are raising the capital that we need to, again, fund these projects further to minimize delays. This is still a very key point of who we are as a business. And then focusing on the reimbursement contracts, just touching on this lightly, they are less risky contracts than the other contract styles. So say in the future, if you want to mitigate risk of delay, to focus more heavily on those. And then again, product innovation software. So if you want to move, once you feel very confident in, again, the IT software that you implemented and you want to further integrate the 2 companies together, that really making sure there's an innovative way to do that. Finally, some risks to quickly go over this. Again, the market does not recover. We see this as a way you could look for ways to diverse and innovate again to really sort of find a niche in that closed market.
Thank you for listening. We're now open for
So you mentioned multiple times the different connect with the government. Now you have multiple locations globally. What are your recommendations or what is your plan to combat the different barriers and customs and all this, the kind of obstacles that come with that very large undertaking? So
Absolutely, absolutely. So primarily, first we wanted to focus on the countries that have delays in them, so Azerbaijan, Peru, and I believe it's Kazakhstan, which is where we wanted to first primarily focus on the government. And we've allocated external hires, so again, the accountants and lawyers, around, I believe, $4 million. So having legal teams each set up in those countries to then fully help, break those barriers and really make sure that we understand, again, the cultures and language barriers to really make sure that that's overcome. That's your question.
I know. Okay, lightning slide, please. You can go back there. You go ahead that one, right there. I like this slide. However, I'm concerned about something. We've stopped all the rumors. We've assessed all our project delays. But we only had 2 months of cash left. So if I don't find a way to get more cash somewhere, including laying off the 86 people,
Yes.
right? If I don't find a way to get more cash, how do I keep the knowledge that's on their personal devices? How do I figure out what they've told the customers? How do I pull that into my organization? Where's your strategy to address that issue?
As we stated so many times, like we want to keep the stuff instead of let it go. I understand there's the issue of the cash reserve, like if we don't let them go, there's will be lack of cash. However, there's 2 reasons. I would say first is because these companies have a lot of expertise, and they are the main contractor of the EPMG project. So which we're highly confident we could get the government support and the owner support from the external. Besides of that, there's also emotional attachment to the business, as the employees are loyal to the company, and those founders, those engineers are the founders of the company since 1980. So we believe there's also emotional attachment. So the employee will less likely to.
That may be true, but I'm failing you, so you're getting kicked out of university. You're done. You're not an employee anymore. You're gone, out the door. How loyal are you going to be? How do you get my data? How do you keep that information for me?
Absolutely. So again, going back to customer loyalty and ensuring that, again, with communication, making sure that all employees are aware that there is economic downturn currently, the company is going to be going through a shift, and somehow creating an incentive program for employees to stay, and also to make sure that they begin to foster that communication with their peers, really understanding that they are valued in this company, and that the information that they have to share and that they've attained over the years is deeply valued.
Come back to me.
The question.
I was a little lost, not gonna lie. So the relationship with the government, is that a relation to secure more contracts, or is that, what does that mean?
It's primarily on a funding basis. So if there are government grants, for say, if they do want a hydro dam built in one of their cities, that they will allow certain funds and grants for us to go then and build it. So it's not necessarily on a contract, but more of a mutual funds benefit or funding. Does that make sense?
So you're saying you're going to go to the government, check out to see if they have any grants for possible projects, and then take that from beginning to end?
It's more of current projects, because we're worried about the delays of current projects. So we're wondering if the government has any funds or resources that they can use to then minimize those delays already. So we're not adding any more contracts or any more current projects, if that makes sense.
Right, so then your assumption in those delays is security costs, like you're saying,
Yeah.
you're thinking they don't have enough money, they're not going through with it, et cetera.
sort of a holding period to get us over that as we assess the ability for the company to go public, which we do. We believe, you know, it has a great reputation. Oh, you've just purchased a company for $30 million. You're in fairly good standing, obviously, besides the economic downturn. But as other competitors are sort of beating their way out of the industry, it's a great opportunity for you to really bolster yourself into the future. So going public, we see that as still a great opportunity, even with that.
So I'm still unclear because we're really low on cash at the moment and we're not laying off any employees. So in the short term, where are we going to get cash from so that we don't have to lay any off?
So tying back to that again with the government. So going on to, because it's the delays that we see are costing us so much money. It's the 6 months, it's the 9 months that we're adding onto these projects. So going to, you know, the governments in Peru and Afghanistan and really asking them, you know, saying, you want this dam built, preferably not in 5 years, and then seeing if we can find a way to mitigate that, thus